All right, I think we are good to go ahead and get started. Again, I would like to welcome everyone who is in attendance this afternoon. Happy Tuesday to all of you. My name is Deja Moore. I am the lead diversity and inclusion lead for the YPN Advisory Council. And today I'm really excited to have Carol Owens here, excuse me, who is the associate head coach for the women's basketball team for the University of Notre Dame. So Carol, thank you so much for being here. The first thing that I want to do is I first want to thank all of our YPN program sponsors, Gibson and Indiana Michigan Power, for their support, which helps make this event possible. And also, before we get started, if you have any questions, please feel free to place them in the Q&A section, and we'll do our best to get to everyone before we end. And then lastly, I would like to announce that all of our YPN volunteers will be getting together for our first in-person meeting at Howard Park Public House. That's a tongue twister. Howard Park Public House on Wednesday, May 26th, beginning at 4 p.m. And we would like to invite any of you, any of our YPs to stop by to say hi and meet us during that time. We'll have on our teal name badges, and if weather is permitting, we'll be out on the patio. So please come and have a fellowship with us and enjoy us. This is an informal event, so you won't find anything posted on our website, but we want to make sure that you are aware of that event and you mark your calendars for that. So again, that will be at Howard Park Public House, such a tongue twister, on Wednesday, May 26th at 4 p.m. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and get started. First, I'd like to introduce you all again to Carol Owens, who is the associate head coach for the women's basketball team for the University of Notre Dame. How are you doing, Carol? Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm doing great. I'm excited for this conversation, and hopefully we'll get a little bit better weather as the week progresses.
Yes, absolutely. So let's dig right into the conversation. And first, I want to say that I do know you. We do go to church together and we fellowship together. So I personally want to thank you for joining us here and having this conversation. I'm excited to learn more about you during this conversation and to learn about your story, both personally and professionally, which leads us into our first question. Please give us an executive summary on who Carol Owens is, both personally and professionally. Let's dig into that. Let's share some information with the people.
I guess if I could sum that up of who I am, I see myself as a mentor, both professionally and personally. I'm passionate about what I do, and I'm passionate about the people that are around me, my family, my friends, and I'm loyal, very loyal person. And I like to have fun. So I think if that was kind of the summation of who I am, it would be all those things that I think kind of capture the person that I am, both professionally and personally.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I don't know what just happened, but my camera went out for a second. That was odd.
I thought we lost you.
No, never not going to lose me. So what is the best part about your job, and then also the worst part about your job, if any, as well?
I guess I could say winning is the best part of my job because I am a coach and I'm here to win. Um, but along that comes with being in this profession, I've been able to meet some of the most amazing people. I was just having a conversation earlier today, and it just made me think about like the people that I met. Little Wayne came to our game, back when Skylar was playing. Uh, when we played at UCLA, Common, I went to dinner with Common, which was really cool. I mean, we've met a lot of amazing people, Mike Epps, amazing people, but also I've gotten to travel to a lot of places I probably wouldn't be able to if it wasn't for the sport and, just my, opportunity to be here as a coach and be at the University of Notre Dame. I love to travel. And so those are two of the highlights that I see as the best part of what I do.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That having a job where you get to travel and have those experiences, I'm sure that's amazing. And that also goes into our third question of, being thrilled. What's the most thrilling thing you've ever done in your career so far? And then we'll get into the next question. But yeah, let's take them to the first one. What's one of the most thrilling things that you've ever done in your career so far?
Well, of course, winning a national championship,
Of course.
and doing it twice, winning a national championship um, was probably the pinnacle of what a coach would love to do. And I was fortunate and blessed to be able to do it twice. And a lot of people had saw the 2018 of how we won our national championship. That was thrilling. And so those are probably two, I would say, um, moments that kind of stick out to me that I guess when you think about thrilling, those would be two of the best moments I could describe.
That's awesome. Absolutely. I can only imagine that feeling. And then what is one thing you have not done that you wish to accomplish in the near future? And we can talk about personally and professionally as well.
Well, I love to travel, so there's a lot of places I haven't been yet. So I want to go to Australia. I want to go to Iceland, and so
Nice.
those are two things that I think that I haven't done yet. I think the continued drive of wanting to win another championship is always there in the back of my mind, and obviously one of the thrills of a coach is to see where your student athletes go and what the things that they accomplish too. So I think I strive to continue to pursue that, and obviously I want to do more philanthropic work outside of coaching, because I think that's kind of one of my callings as well. So yeah, I think those are some things that I still want to do.
Awesome. That's awesome. As a person of color, have you ever faced challenges in your career because of the color of your skin? And if so, how did you overcome those challenges? And I want to say too, one thing is you are also a female and a female coach, and at the University of Notre Dame as a basketball coach as well. Which I don't want to speak for all of the coaches, but I know it's pretty male dominated. How does that feel, and what challenges are there as well? So not only as an African American, but as an African American woman as well. What challenges have you faced?
Well, I'll give you a little backstory. In the 80s, most of the women's programs were coached by women. And at that time, there may have been one, maybe two women of color that were head coaches. It
Wow.
wasn't that many. And I'm excluding the HBCUs because that's obvious.
Right.
So then as the sport grew and the exposure grew, so did the salaries.
Mm-hmm.
So the salaries started to grow in the late to mid to late 90s. So when the money grows, you're going to have more people really interested in the jobs. And so men then saw an opportunity to go from
Mm.
coaching on the men's side sometimes to just coming in and really pursuing the jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is majority of the athletic directors are white males.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to hire who they're comfortable with.
Right.
Right now, as it stands, there's 60% male coaches coaching women's basketball. There's 40% white women, and I think it's probably um, maybe out of that 40%, 10 to 15% are women of color.
Okay.
So the challenges then go into when you have a sport that's dominated by 80% of people of color. Now you have to get people that can recruit those kids.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I got into coaching, um, they were looking for coaches who could recruit.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that early on. I didn't want to be known as just a recruiter. You using me to get, you know, Black kids into your program to perform for you, but not really getting indulged into the X's and O's and all the other management. So I was very intentional as I made the moves early on,
Mhm.
um, that that's not what my path was going to be about. And I started my career at the University of Michigan as a part-time assistant, trying to figure out. I just finished playing professional basketball, and then I was getting into coaching. But fortunately for me, I had a lot of mentors and connections through my playing days that I was able to get connected to the University of Notre Dame. And as we know, you know, Muffet McGraw is a champion for women and women of color. So I think she was someone that empowered me to, stand out and push me to the levels where I was doing a lot of things. I was developing players. I was doing scouts. I was doing a lot of things as a very young age.
Mhm.
And so, but there still was something into me that was, I need to do more than just what I'm doing, but I need to help other coaches. So I started to
Right.
get involved in the Black Coaches Association that was going on during that time, and we had to advocate for a lot of people of color that were really wanting to get head jobs. That was still very, very difficult, and it still is. And so now we formed what's called the Women of Color Network, and
Awesome.
basically we just support each other. It's very hard when you're a head coach. I've been a head coach before, because you feel like you're on the island. Nobody understands what you're going through, and I think this is probably in a lot of different professions.
Mhm.
Um, and you're not respected. You don't get the opportunities that your counterparts are getting. And so when those coaches get those opportunities, we want to make sure they stay there.
Mhm.
We want to make sure there's some sustainability within their profession. So we kind of have like a support system. We talk about how to manage your program, especially those first and second year head coaches. They need to know what they're going into. So I think there's a loaded answer to your question, but it is all of that. And it continues to be that challenge. We have to get more people in executive positions so we can hire um, people of color, because hiring is the challenge throughout the NFL, the NBA, and a lot of different sports.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say too, just, in general for hiring, it's definitely there are a lot of new strategies that are coming out now with how to diversify an organization or a corporation's hiring strategy because I think there's a lot of light being shown on those type of strategies now. So I definitely appreciate you sharing light to that as well. And I love the committee or the council that you said you're a part of. That's really, 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 really beautiful. And I was actually a D1 athlete at Indiana State University in Terre Haute, Indiana. And I remember just, all of the hard work that my coaches went through. And I ran track also, just to put that out there.
Yeah,
Um,
awesome.
yeah. And I just remember just the process that our coaches had to go through for recruiting. And I was so fortunate to have ran for a program that actually cared about the representation of the coaching staff, the recruiting staff, all the way up from the top to down to the bottom. So I can vouch for that as well. Our next question is, looking back on all of your past experiences, what advice would you have for an upcoming coach who is looking to accomplish the same milestones you have accomplished? I love this question because I think it gives all of us a chance to reflect, right? But then also to share our experiences, and then I want you to think about too, just and as a professional as well, because coaching is a serious profession. So touching on that and just professionally as well, because I think if you're not a coach at all, you can still learn from the experiences that you have as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I did it. I spoke at Northwest Mutual in Chicago. And the things I spoke on were parallel to the things that they speak to their young financial advisors. So everything's pretty relative when you talk about professions, because I think what I learned is, especially with our student athletes, they go into things thinking, well, this is what my parents wanted me to do. This is, I can make the most money, but they don't love it. And so what I would say is you got to have a passion for what you do. And those first 2 years when I was at Michigan, I didn't know if I want at that point that I wanted to make coaching a profession. I kind of took those 2 years to see that if this is really what I wanted to do, it has to be your passion, because if it's not your passion, then it becomes a job. And I see this as a passion more than a job. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be committed to what you're doing, because you're forming young lives, really.
Right.
Um, and they may not understand it, as you're coaching them, as you're mentoring them, teaching them life lessons, but you hold some responsibility in that. And so you have to be committed to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, don't be afraid of the process. A lot of young people want to go in and they want to make this some money right now. It took me a long time to get to that point. And actually, when I started, I didn't make any money. I didn't make that much money when I started. Fortunately, I had my, overseas money, professional money that I could lean back on, but I didn't really make any money. But when I decided this is what I wanted to do, I didn't care about it. I just wanted to study the craft,
Mm-hmm.
get better at coaching, at teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got better at it, I became a better performer as a coach. And then the income came, of course. Um, but then along the way, you have to network, you have to build relationships, because they always say it's who you know. No, it's who knows you.
Mm-hmm.
What impression do you make on other people? And
Mm-hmm.
so I was able to leave a lasting impression on other people where, not only did I get the job at Notre Dame, but then it led to me being a head coach, and then also being a coach at USA Basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So two things that were my lifelong dreams, but I wasn't afraid of the process. I wasn't afraid of the work. And if it's your passion, you're going to love doing it. And so enjoy the process, build relationships along the way, because building relationships goes with everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then really continue to work with integrity and humility, because that goes a long way.
Amen to that. I love all of that. I love all of that. And I want to say also, for those of you who do not know Kara Owens, she's a phenomenal woman, but I also in this process got to read a little bit of her bio, and just let me say it is stacked. And I was so proud just to know you, I don't know you that well, but just like, wow, this woman is amazing. And so you mentioned a little bit, and I know you didn't go, even though my face kind of popped away for a second. I know you didn't go into deep into your past experiences, but you've mentioned USA Basketball. You've mentioned playing pro. Talk a little bit about that and those experiences, just to give our viewers more of an insight of your experiences and the things you have to offer, because I think those are great stories, and I would love to learn more about it as well. So if you don't mind,
I
sharing
did. I did play professionally. Actually, I was going into broadcasting and uh, realized that's not something that I didn't want to be in front of the camera. I
Mhm.
love the behind the scenes, and I had an opportunity. I knew I was going to play professionally. I'd signed with an agent, but I also had an internship, and I had an internship at this small town, Peoria, Illinois.
Oh,
And
I know Peoria, Illinois.
yeah, yeah, okay. So I was at WEEK in Peoria, and I did an internship, and it was all hands on. So I was just like, I knew what I liked and I knew what I didn't like, but in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to play professionally. So
Mhm.
I had a great experience, but this path took me, a different way. So the first place that I played was in Japan. I,
Mm.
I I lived in Japan for about 7 months. It was the first time I ever left the country. But one thing I would tell people, if you have a opportunity to travel to different countries, do so, because that's an education in itself.
Absolutely.
So when I had to live over there, they put me in, I had to have my degree because I technically had to qualify to work for the company that I worked for. So I played for, and it was called Nippon Express,
Mhm.
which is kind of like the Federal Express here in the States. They
Mhm.
have Nippon means Japan. So I lived there. It was really a culture shock when I first got there, and to kind of give you some perspective, it was before the internet.
Oh, okay.
It was before the internet,
Right. So you
and
couldn't Google it and see what it was
yeah,
about.
you know,
Really
like when I talked to Enrique and all those guys, they got every access. You know, they can really make it, feel like home.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I read a lot of books. I
Mm-hmm.
wrote a lot of letters. They taught me how to use my train pass, my bike, because they weren't giving me a car. They drive on the right side. So that was, and it's very crowded there. So
Mm-hmm.
I just got out. I got out of my comfort zone, and I
Right.
went out and I explored. And that was an amazing. It was very good learning about the people and how they live, because they live very differently than I was used to.
Mm-hmm.
But they took very good care of me, and I went there. But my goal was to play in Europe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I left there and I went to Spain. And so, a little backstory on Spain: if you watch Love and Basketball, I played for the same team Monica played for, Vigo.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
yeah, I played for Vigo. Vigo was very beautiful. It was in the northern part of Spain near Portugal. So
Mm-hmm.
I was right near the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
I went from the Pacific in Japan to the Atlantic.
Wow.
And I tell you, I lived over there for 9 months. Living over there, you pick up the language very quickly.
Oh, wow.
So I
Quicker
was
than the Japanese language, I'm sure.
Japanese was a little different. I know words, and then they had an interpreter for me. So
Okay.
what I did enjoy is, in my free time, they would have me go speak to fourth graders, and it
Oh.
was so cute. And I still have them. They wrote me a bunch of letters in Japanese, but
Mhm.
the language, they have like four different levels of language
Mm.
and how to speak in terms of your age and the respect and all that kind of stuff. So it's very complex. So I know words. Uh, and then Spain was probably the best team that I played for, because they were just that they were that high level um, team, in terms of, we were a cup team, so we traveled throughout the European countries. So it was really good. And then I played in Italy. I was 20 minutes from
Beautiful.
Milan, and met some models over there, and hung out, became friends. So it was great. I could tell quite a few stories, but I just learned about different cultures and different people, and I think it gave me a sense of humility, and just acceptance of all different cultures, and it was interesting, their perception of us. And so when you go over there, you give them a different perception of what Americans are like and who they're about, especially someone that's a Black American. So it was really cool. I enjoyed it, and so it kind of led me to like wanting to travel even more. Being in Indonesia, Thailand, all those different places was it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. We do have one question in the chat, but before I get to that, because I know we're on a topic of, you shared a little bit about your experience playing professional basketball, and I know a little bit about this,
And it
but
was before the WNBA. Like, I'm aging myself, because it was before. It was, I retired right a year before the WNBA started, and
Mhm.
my agent was like, "Are you sure we're gonna have some?" I was like, "I'm sure. My knees are telling me that I'm sure."
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I had to plug that.
Yes, plug that, plug it all, because it's all worth plugging. But a question that I have for you, because I was a D1 athlete, and I like all the, not all, but most young athletes have that dream, right, of wanting to go professional. For track, it's wanting to get to the Olympics. So as a coach now, and you experiencing all of that, how do you prep your girls on the your women, excuse me, on the women's basketball team for those experiences, and for those opportunities in terms of, just making sure that they weigh all of their options and understand what that process is like? Because I know my experiences as a D1 athlete in Indiana State, they made certain things clear, about those type of things, and just made sure that they were always honest with us. So can you talk a little bit about, why it's important for you and your experiences to have that conversation with your women, whether it's early on, or how you do that?
Yeah. Fortunate for us, we have a staff where I played professionally, and then two, Neil and Coquise both played in the WNBA. So we give them the real. We give them the real. And one thing is transparency. Only 1% of, student athletes get to play at the next level. That's just fact.
Mhm.
And so if they are committed and that's what they want to do, we do not crush their dreams. If you say you want to go pro, okay, if that's what you want to do, these are the things that you need to do. You need to take care of your body. You need to work out in the off season. You need to really focus on getting better and improving each year. So those are the conversations we have. We bring former players back that are in the league, and they give them the real.
Mhm.
And just like you're a professional now, so you are in charge of taking care of yourself. You don't have your coaches there taking care of
Right.
you. So that's why what I do is so important,
Mhm.
because we use basketball as life skills. So whether you want to play professionally or you're going into the business world, you have
Right.
you have to be accountable. you know you have to have the ability to work with others, teamwork.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, all those things, those core values, they don't go away once you're done playing. You know,
Absolutely.
you still need those, and even if you're married and you're a mom, you're responsible for someone and somebody. And so
Right.
those are the things that we want to accomplish. And then when they go pro, I mean, you gotta perform. It's all about performance, and if you don't, it's just like a job. They're going to fire you.
Mhm.
So those transparent conversations, we have agents come in and talk to them. We tell them about agents. We give them a list of recommendations and all that. So they're well informed once
Mhm.
they leave here. And Notre Dame, we've had a good reputation of professional, players. I think we have second most players in the WNBA. So
Awesome.
I think a lot of the franchises respect what we do and what we say to them.
Yeah.
And I think they go to a different, wherever franchise they go, they're very well prepared, which I'm pretty proud of.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Thank you for answering that question. I love
Mhm.
that. So let's get into our Q&As. We have a couple here. Our first one, I believe I can say the name. So our first one's from Michael Scott. He is also on our advisory council, so he has some great questions. He says, with Notre Dame being one of the premier women's basketball destinations in the country, you all continually work to recruit some of the top female basketball players in the country. With social media being so prominent and nearly every recruit has it, have you stopped recruiting a player due to their social media presence? What is your social media speech you give your players to make sure they are being responsible while representing the university? All great questions.
Yeah, great question, Michael. We do have that conversation. There's been other programs that have taken the social media away once the season starts.
Mm.
And our approach is we want to manage it, because we want you to be able to control yourselves, control your emotions, and control. And yes, we have not recruited someone based on what they put on social media. If we're interviewing for a position here on our staff, we look at their social media, because it says about a lot about who you are. Fortunately and unfortunately. So it does play a part. We have different guidelines that we share with our players and the do's and don'ts. We have to continue to manage that because they are kids, and sometimes they do speak on emotion, but we try to get them to understand that, and for the most part, they do. And then we bring other speakers in that that are experts in social media to give them some understanding. Once you delete something on your page doesn't mean that it goes away.
Right.
It's filtering somewhere.
Mm.
Um, and with TikTok, oh goodness, TikTok is some we have to manage that as well. But what's coming down the pike for college athletics is name, image, and likeness, which is a little bit different. Basically, athletes can basically get and pay for endorsements and sponsorships and all that. Well, branding is a big part of that, and how they brand themselves sometimes is through social media. And
Mhm.
so the University of Notre Dame has hired a company that specializes that to give our student athletes guidance in how to manage their accounts. But with that said, everybody doesn't get a million followers. You get paid off of that some kind of way. But I think we have some students. She's not a student athlete, but she has 600,000 followers on TikTok, and she is gonna be in a Disney Channel or something like that. So the exposure in social media, branding, it's all coming together, and the NCAA is going to allow our student athletes to get paid for it. So we have to manage it. There's certain things that are above our level. So now Notre Dame is hiring a company specifically for that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. Because I remember, that process of NCAA not being able to get paid for anything. So
hmm
it's interesting
It's
to hear
about to
that things
change.
are changing. Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting. Awesome. So this next question, man, I take pride in my name and I hate butchering other people's names, but it's BEA or Bia or Bay. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's not Bay. I don't know. But it says, "Hi, coach. What motivates and drives you to get up and get going for the day?" Love those simple questions.
Well, I start with daily devotional, and I have to constantly um, really reaffirm my why and why I do what I do. And it comes down to mentoring. And so I look forward to mentoring not only our players, but, I mentor people on our staff. I mentor other coaches in other, programs. So I really, I think my purpose is to serve. And so when I get back to that, that is what drives me each day. I love seeing people, I love being around people, I love the energy that young people give me. And so I think that's what drives me on a daily basis.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Okay, so that was the last QA question we have. If you have any more for our attendees, please keep them coming. We'll keep looking at that, and our tech team will help us as those come through. Another question that we have here is, as a fellow professional, and with about 20 YPs or other young professionals on the webinar here, what advice do you have for them on how they can be better engaged in the community? Or what would you say to them? And you talked a little bit about it's not who you know, but who knows you. And I think that ties a lot into that. And I'm definitely stealing that, by the way, because I do agree with that. Let's talk a little bit about that and why it's important for people to know you as a professional, all of that for our young YPs listening today.
Yeah, I think also, if you're going to a profession or you're interviewing or you want a promotion, people that make the decisions are going to ask other people about you. What will they say about you? How would they describe you? Because I think that's so important when the executives or whoever is trying to make a decision or hire. They want to know the person too. They know the skill,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
they need to know who they're dealing with, the
Mm-hmm.
person. And I find that to be so important. I spoke to like that financial company in Chicago, and it's all about relationships. it's building relationships so people can trust that you are on the same page and you're for the organization or company that you work for. So I think that's the kind of the advice, and I think that is the path. And I always try to lead with empathy. I am in a leadership position because there's a lot of young people that are looking up to me, but I always try to lead with empathy because we have players from a lot of different demographics. And as as more and more I get in this profession, the more and more from a mental health standpoint, these a lot of issues come up, and so you got to be able to listen, to understand,
Yes,
and to just empathize with what they're going through. When they see that, they trust it. um, and I think people can connect with that as
absolutely.
well.
Absolutely. I love that. We have more Q&A questions. You have an interactive crowd here, which
Okay.
I do love. We have a question from Christopher Ruby. It says, what advice do you have for a high school coach? Possibly, and that's really all it says there, but let's just talk about, potentially looking to expand or extend their coaching career. What advice do you have for them?
Well, advice that I would have is that your job is very, very important, because we look at the student athletes that are coming up, and uh, and when you look at what we have is called the portal. A lot of kids are transferring and all that, but it starts at the grassroots level, and just them having the experiences of just really good teachers and really good people, and being developed that level. So your job is really important as a high school coach. And I commend you for having a lot of patience for the players, because you have some players that want to go to the next level. You have some players that are just doing it for fun. But in order to go to the next level, I mean, it is a process. Again, you have to put yourself out there. Um, Obviously, with COVID, it's different. We don't have camps, but camps is a good way to meet people and meet other coaches. If you can get involved into any club, sport, because a lot of high school coaches, they also coach club basketball, which is summer basketball. That's an opportunity to increase your knowledge and increase exposure for yourself. Um, but also, I've known quite a few coaches that have high school coaches that have made the jump to the college level, just based on the relationships with with other college coaches. So I think it's all about, again, relationships, and then going out to any clinics, symposiums,
Mhm.
anything that you can get connected to, that you can go out not only to learn different skill sets, but also meet other people along the way.
Awesome. I love that. Nick Hussey from Terracon says, Coach Owens, you spoke a little bit about mentoring earlier. How have you developed strategies for getting the best out of your team year in and year out? I love that question.
I would say stay consistent. And again, one of the things I would say in 2018, when we were struck with the injury bug, I mean, we had several injuries, and even now, I mean, we lost a lot of uh, our more talented players to the pros, and we're trying to build that back up. But our core values we try to stay firm with our core values and stay consistent,
Mhm.
and just be supportive, and still, I think a lot of times ultimately we want to win,
Mhm.
but we have to show them that the process is just as important as the
Absolutely.
end result, because sometimes you won't get the end result, but you got to get them to take pride in the process. And that's what we're doing now, is really taking pride in the process and what they do, all the little things that they do, both on and off the court. They have to see the success in that, and then build on that, and they will then see, the results on the court.
And I'm gonna quote our assistant pastor, Kara Millis. She said, "Trust the process" a couple of Sundays ago. So
Trust the
that's
process.
that's beautiful.
Absolutely. She's
Absolutely.
awesome.
And I thought she was going to tune in too. So she is tuning in. Hello to you. And I saw Mickey Miller was on here too. So hello, Mickey Miller as well.
Mickey.
Now, now that you've been in South Bend for a while, what are some of the region's hidden gems in your mind? We asked this question to all of our guests. What hidden gems do you believe are in South Bend?
Well, you know what? The pandemic has set my butt down for a little bit and kind of see what's around um, my space, my area, the town and all that. But what I got into is walking along the St. Joe River. And I live in Mishawaka, so I go straight down to the park and I walk, about 3 miles, just taking air in and walking down the St. Joe River. I think it's beautiful. Also, I think what they did at Howard Park, the renovations there, has been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The grotto is one of my favorite places here on campus at Notre Dame. It's serene, it's quiet. We also have lakes on campus too, but and then also my true resources where we go to church. Faith Alive is a hidden.
Yes.
It's not. It's a gem. I don't know if it's hidden. It's a gem.
Not hidden. It's definitely a gym
Yeah.
for sure. All these plugs. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. So the next thing we have, oh, I'm sorry. We do have one more Q&A question from Michael Scott. I think we have time. And I will say that it's touching on your seasons. So if you can't answer it, that's fine. If not, that's okay. We respect your personal. But it does say with the high expectations set in Notre Dame during your time here, the past 2 years have not reached the levels of your wins and losses record as years past. How have you kept yourself and your team motivated these last 2 seasons when a national championship has seemed out of reach?
If you know me, and our staff, we're very, very competitive. But we have to put things in perspective. When you lose in 2019, we lost 90% of our scoring to the league. And bless them, they're doing well in the WNBA. But with that becomes where we are now, where we have to rebuild our 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 talent,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have a new coach, so she's building her culture and how she wants our program to be. There's obviously some similarities, but it takes time, and I try to stay patient because ultimately we want to get back to where we were in 2019, obviously, but we can see a glimpse of it if we with COVID and injuries and the way how the season went. Obviously, there's no one that puts more pressure on me than me, and that's a part of it. I understand. I've been in it long enough how this process works, how this game works. I don't get panicky at all because I know what we have coming in. I know the potential that our players have and our coaches. So you'll see us. You'll see us back at it. But again, we're striving to get back to that prominence that we want. And I can see it happening slowly but surely, but it's happening.
Well, I think from the looks of the Q&As, you can tell that the YP family is with you and behind you, and they're intrigued and they're interested. So thank you so much for answering that question and all of our questions. So this is my favorite part of the interviews. It's called Quick Fire. We ask just simple questions and, just want to know your preference and learn a little bit more about you. Excuse me. So the first one is, what is your favorite area restaurant here in the area?
Frankie's obviously is really good.
Frankie's.
Frankie's is really good, but there was a a place, Temper Grill, which I don't think is open. I'm so
Yeah,
bummed.
I
That
think
was
it's Chef. I don't want. I know his name. It's on the tip of my tongue.
He's somewhere else now, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. If someone knows his name, please put in the chat, 'cause that's
Yeah,
gonna
put
be.
his name
But
in.
yes,
I need to find him, but that
yes.
was such a spot. It was very low key and
Sean Kelly. Yes, Chef Sean Kelly. Thank you. Thank
yes,
you, Lindsay.
yes. Yes, he's amazing, but I really love Temper Grill. That's one of my favorite places, along with Corn Dance. I'll frequent there sometimes as well. So
Yes, I'm at corn dance too much. Name two hobbies you enjoy when you're resting or a new hobby you're picking up. Two hobbies you enjoy.
I love to travel. Like I said, I love getting out. And so this past year has been challenging because I haven't really gone anywhere. I haven't been flying or anything. Um, so I just love to travel. I love to be in different places to learn the culture and all that. I like to go to art museums. I love art. I love music. So if there's a Van Gogh exhibit in Chicago, I can't even get in. It's sold out. So bummed. So I'm kind of waiting till it loosens up and hopefully it stays for a while. But I look forward to doing that.
Awesome. I love museums myself as well. Mountains or ocean?
Definitely oceans.
Yes, I think with you traveling Atlantic to Pacific, I think I knew that one. Best vacation spot.
Croatia.
Love that. Person
People
you
don't know anything about Croatia, but it is amazing. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Had a great time there.
I have to add that to my list. Person you look up to.
Um, Besides my parents, I don't know if it's somebody I particularly look up to, but there's people that inspire me. There's quite a few people that inspire me. Tara is one of them.
Absolutely.
That what she's doing for the state of Indiana with her new position, she is
Yes.
awesome. She definitely inspires me. I have two people on staff here. Nielle, coached in the NBA, came back. I actually recruited Nielle and where she is now. It's amazing. Coco East Washington, our the assistant who graduated Notre Dame in 3 years and then went to law school, practiced law, played professionally, and now is coaching. So she's done quite a bit. So I have a small group of people that truly inspire me, and you know, I learn a lot from them. I learn a lot from some of our student athletes. That's what it's all about. If I stop learning, then it's time for me to get out of this profession. But there's so many cool people that I'm around that I appreciate that continue to inspire me.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Um, what is the last book you read?
The last book I read was The Energy Bus
Mm,
by John Gordon. I would recommend that to anyone, whatever. It actually is a book about the business world, but
mm,
we apply it to. Um, we had our team read it, and it was a pretty amazing book. It's really good. It's a feel good book.
awesome. All right. I think that's all that we have. I think I saw a Q&A. Oh, they were telling us the chef's name in the Q&A. Thank you so
Okay,
much again.
thanks.
All right. Well, Carol, or Coach Owens, as our
You can
YP
call me Carol.
have been calling you today. So much respect for you with our attendees. Thank you all to all of our attendees for showing. Thank you, Carol, for joining us today and taking the time to chat with us. Again, I'd like to thank our Gibson and Indiana Michigan Power again for their continued support, as well as all of you YPs that are joining us today. Again, this executive conversation with Coach Owens will be on our YouTube page very, very soon, and we'll post on our social media as well. And then again, I'd like to talk about or remind you all about Howard Public House on Wednesday, May 26th for our in-person meet and greet. And other than that, I hope everyone has a great Tuesday. Carol, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you on Sunday.
Yes.
And I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
joining.
everyone.